Hello, and welcome to another almighty AllHipHop.com production. My name is Rick Rizal. Today we interview Weruche, Opia and Jayme Lawson, who play Coretta Scott King and Dr. Betty Shabazz in the National Geographic limited series Genius MLK X. Okay, now I'll start with Weruche. Excuse me.
You got it.
All right. Now, you play Coretta Scott King in the series, a woman whose role in the civil rights struggle was very significant, yet understated and even overlooked in many regards.
Yes.
What did you know of Coretta Scott King prior to this role?
So I will be honest and say I didn't know much. I knew generally who she was. I knew she was the wife of. I knew she was a prolific woman. I knew she was a woman of stature. And that's where it ended. And I'm going to be frank about it. And then getting the role, obviously, I then had the need and desire to delve in deeper. And I was shocked and upset by the fact that I didn't know all this about Coretta. I didn't know how influential she was into the movement, the life of her husband. I didn't know her personal desires. I didn't know her love for music. I didn't know that music was what saved her from the South. I didn't know that that was her passion, and I didn't know that she used that also within the civil rights movement as well. There was so much I didn't know, and I felt disappointed in myself and generally that we don't know this much about these women. We know a lot about the men. We know generally about the women, but I was upset I didn't know that much. And that was a fire that was lit within me. And I'm very honored to be part of another wave of education of these women so that the world can know, because a lot of people don't know. You think you know, but you have no idea.
You don't know what you don't know, right?
Exactly. And so this process, I think, for me was rewarding in the sense that I got to learn. I got to really dig deep and figure out and find out all, what some of the stuff that she was involved in, how imperative her role in Martin's life was to Martin as well as the movement, all she did post Martin when he was taken from her, and how influential she is to modern society as we know it now. So it was a complete education for me, and I hope it will be an education for everybody else as well.
Outstanding answer. Now, for you, Jayme, it's a similar question because Sister Betty is held in high regard in the African American community as an educator and a mother, in addition to being the wife of one of our most beloved male figures. What did you know of Sister Betty prior to taking this role, and have you learned anything since then?
Oh, I learned a lot. I honestly, I knew more about Coretta than I knew about Dr. Betty Shabazz, right? And so for me, it was such a treat to delve into her story, right? A lot of the interviews that we have of her, watching her speak, all were after Malcolm was taken from her, right? So we don't have a lot of the footage of her prior to. Also, her life intentionally was very reserved. And so starting the beginning process of looking up, because let me back up. With Malcolm X, I grew up knowing that there was a lot of misinformation and mistruth out there widely spread about Malcolm X, right? And so knowing that to be a fact, then when trying to find research on Dr. Betty Shabazz, I had to be very careful that I found credible sources, okay? I'm not just looking at anything that anybody got to say about her. And so that came with, there was a biography written, I believe his name is Russell Pickford, that tracked her entire life. But funny enough, the most beneficial piece of information I got was a book written by one of her daughters, and it was a children's book that she wrote about her mother from the time she was born up until her teenage years. And I found that to be so crucial because it got beyond her accolades or what she did, and it got to the core of who she was in the beginning stages of her life, right? It's the little girl. And for me, that was very important because I didn't want, just like the series does a really good job of not making it feel like a period piece or like it's a history lesson, right? Bringing these people to life in the full complexities of who they are. With Dr. Betty Shabazz, it started with understanding who she was at birth and finding what her core center was and how she moved and what she needed as a little girl that she then brought into her womanhood. The very thing that drew her to Malcolm and continued for her to continue on his legacy. So there was a lot to be discovered and a lot to learn about her, just because so much information has been withheld.
Yeah.
Indeed. Now, Weruche, you are indeed a talented individual, but I cannot understand how much you favor Coretta.
Say that. Hello.
I cannot understand.
Yeah.
It is terrifying. I was like,
Yeah.
It's like I was looking at this screen, was like, wow. Now, did you feel like this gave you a leg up on the competition? Somewhat of a burden for you?
I ain't say that, you said it. But you know what? I'm not going to lie. It gave me a bit of assurance. I was like, okay, at least I look like her.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? That definitely gave me some assurance. But it was also, as much as it gave me assurance, it scared me a little bit because I was like, hold on. So people who may remember her will look at me, and that's a lot of expectation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I remember someone said to me, one day we were on set, right? And we were filming out in Atlanta. And someone said, you need to just walk down the street in costume. And I said, excuse me? You walk... People would think there's a ghost on the street. And that terrified me. So it was honestly like, it was a pro, but gave me a lot of, it was also a bit scary because I was like, right, the pressure is on. But I had to give myself grace, and I always reminded myself that I am not Coretta.
Right.
You know, so all I can do is I favor her, yes, and I can lend myself to a portrayal of her and just hope, you know, that I do the best job I possibly can.